They'll never admit it. But your silence terrifies them. Not because you shout, not because you threaten, but because you don't react. Because in a world addicted to noise, you are calm, still, unmoved. And that stillness, that's power. Real power. Most people mistake noise for strength. They think dominance comes from volume, from showing teeth, from screaming their truth. But Machiavelli would tell you the opposite. Power is quiet. Control is invisible. And fear, the kind that truly grips people, comes not from aggression, but from discipline. Understand this. The strongest minds don't need validation. They don't need to prove anything. Because when your mind becomes your fortress, the opinions of others lose all meaning. You see, most of the world is built on emotional exchange. Everyone's selling feelings. People chase approval, love, likes, sympathy. They bleed out their secrets for comfort. They hand their power away with every confession, every overshare, every moment they let the world read them. And then they wonder why they feel weak, why they're manipulated, why they can't stand alone. Because they never built walls around their mind. They never learned the art of silence. Let's start here. The foundation. The strong mind is not born. It's forged. Forged through solitude, rejection, pain, and observation. When you stop reacting to the world, you start seeing it for what it truly is. Not as you wish it to be, but as it operates. The silent man learns to watch. He doesn't speak to impress. He listens to dissect. He studies tone, body language, patterns. Every conversation becomes a lesson in human psychology. Every silence becomes an opportunity to understand power. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men are so simple, and so much creatures of habit, that he who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will let himself be deceived." That's why the quiet mind wins. It doesn't rush to expose itself. It lets others reveal themselves first. While they speak, you study. While they perform, you prepare. And when the moment arrives, you execute. No warning, no hesitation, only precision. The world teaches you to be open. Be vulnerable, they say. Share your pain. Express yourself. But Machiavelli would laugh at that lie. Because every secret you reveal is ammunition in someone else's hands. Every confession is a crack in your armor. Every moment of emotional exposure is a weapon waiting to be turned against you. The strong mind withholds. Not because it's afraid, but because it understands that power thrives in mystery. People fear what they can't understand. They respect what they can't predict. And they envy what they can't read. So be unreadable. Let them guess. Let them project. Let them whisper. Because while they talk, you move. While they assume, you plan. And while they seek attention, you build empires in silence. Silence isn't weakness. It's warfare. It's a psychological battlefield where only the patient survive. The loudest man in the room reveals everything. His emotions, his insecurities, his ambitions. He vomits his strategy before he's even begun. But the silent man? He terrifies everyone. Because no one knows what he's thinking. No one knows what he's planning. And no one knows what could break him. If anything even can. When you say less, people fill in the blanks themselves. And the mind, when uncertain, creates fear. That's your leverage. You don't need to intimidate people directly. You let their imagination do the work. You let their curiosity become anxiety. That's the art of psychological dominance. To build a mind that scares people, you must first master restraint. Control your words. Control your tone. Control your expression. Don't react to provocation. Don't reveal emotion under pressure. Every test, every insult, every manipulation is a mirror. They're not trying to hurt you. They're trying to read you. The moment you react, they've succeeded. They've found your weakness. They've learned your language. But when you remain unmoved, when you hold that cold, unreadable calm, they crumble. Because uncertainty is the greatest fear of all. When people can't predict you, they can't control you. When they can't read you, they invent stories. And those stories always end with your power. Picture it. A crowded room. Everyone competing for attention. Everyone trying to be seen, to be liked, to be heard. And you, standing silent, watching, calculating. You say nothing, yet every movement, every glance, every pause radiates control. People turn to you not because you shout, but because you don't need to. Your calm commands the space. Your silence dominates the noise. That's not arrogance. That's mastery. That's the quiet fire that makes the room nervous. Because power, real power, isn't about dominance through fear. It's about dominance through control, the control of self. So if you want to begin the journey of mental strength, start by shutting your mouth. Stop explaining. Stop defending. Stop seeking understanding. Understand this. You don't owe the world your emotions. You don't owe anyone your thoughts. The less they know about you, the more they'll respect you. And the more they'll fear what they can't define. The first step toward a mind so strong it scares people is silence. Not passive silence, but strategic silence. The silence of kings. The silence of wolves waiting in the dark. The silence that unsettles the weak and empowers the strong. From now on, let your restraint speak louder than their noise. Let your stillness become your signature. And remember, you don't rise by being louder. You rise by being untouchable. Because when you master silence, you master perception. And when you master perception, you master power. This is how it begins. The construction of a mind that bends to no one. The silent fortress. The birth of the unbreakable. Every man suffers, but not every man learns. Pain visits everyone. It tests kings and beggars alike. But only a few, a rare, dangerous few, choose to listen to it. And those who do, those who embrace pain without flinching, they become untouchable. Because pain is not the enemy. Pain is the instructor, the sculptor of the mind, the silent forge that burns away weakness and leaves behind nothing but steel. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He knew that a man ruled by his emotions is already conquered. The one who controls his suffering controls his fate, because pain, when resisted, destroys you. But when studied, it rebuilds you. The weak run from it. They drown it in distraction, in pleasure, in validation, in attention. They numb themselves with comfort and call that peace. But peace bought with avoidance is just slavery in a softer disguise. The strong mind does not seek escape. It stands inside the fire, unmoving, and learns. Every insult, every betrayal, every failure, they're not tragedies. They're blueprints. They show you what still controls you. They reveal what buttons still exist within you. Did someone's opinion break your focus? Then you are still enslaved to validation. Did rejection crush your confidence? Then love, not logic, still rules your mind. Did loneliness drive you back into weakness? Then comfort is your master. Understand this truth. What triggers you owns you. Every time you react in pain, you hand the keys of your mind to your enemy. So stop reacting. Start recording. Observe your pain like a scientist, not a victim. Ask, why does this hurt? What power did I give away that allowed this wound to exist? Because the pain you refuse to study will forever own you. Strong men learn to interrogate pain. They don't drown in it. They disassemble it. They extract information from it. You don't have to love suffering, but you must respect it. Every ache in your chest, every sleepless night, every betrayal, they are messages, lessons in emotional architecture, blueprints for mental evolution. When the world breaks you, don't run to be fixed. Stay broken for a while. Study the pieces. Learn how you were built and how you can rebuild differently. Pain doesn't destroy. It reveals what was fragile. And once you see what's fragile, you can reinforce it. That's mastery. Pain is the purest mirror of power. If someone can make you angry, they control you. If they can make you beg, they own you. If they can make you cry, they know where to strike. So what does the strong mind do? It builds immunity. It trains itself to feel everything and obey nothing. Anger may rise, but it will not command. Sadness may whisper, but it will not paralyze. Fear may visit, but it will not dictate. This is emotional sovereignty, the foundation of all mental dominance. Machiavelli would say, "He who cannot rule himself cannot rule anything." And that includes your emotions. Every time you endure without breaking, you reprogram your mind. You prove to yourself that pain is survivable. And when pain loses its power to scare you, the world loses its power to control you. That's what terrifies people about strength. They see you silent under pressure. They see you calm in chaos. They throw their insults, their rejections, their humiliations, and you don't flinch. They don't understand it, because they've built their lives around avoiding discomfort. They run from heat, while you become it. You've learned what they fear most, that pain is not to be feared, but to be used. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. Every strike of the hammer, every burst of fire, every spark that flies. It looks violent, but it's necessary. The metal screams before it shines, and so must you. Every failure, every rejection, every heartbreak, it's the hammer, and you are the steel. If you run from it, you remain soft, unforged, but if you endure it, you become sharper, harder, colder. And when you finally emerge, nothing and no one can bend you again. People often say, be positive, think good thoughts. But Machiavellian philosophy laughs at naive optimism. This is not about being positive. This is about being powerful. Because positivity without control is delusion. You can't meditate weakness into strength. You must endure it out of existence. When pain comes, don't resist. Absorb it. Study it. Turn it into fuel. Every moment of suffering can be converted into power if you learn to process it without emotional surrender. That's why discipline is the cure for all weakness. Discipline isn't punishment. It's purification. It strips away the unnecessary. It exposes who you really are when comfort disappears. So the next time pain knocks, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this teaching me?" When your mind starts screaming for relief, you whisper back, "We don't run anymore." Because every time you sit with pain, you steal its weapon. It can no longer scare you. It can no longer define you. It can no longer manipulate you. Most people live their lives begging for relief. You will live your life mastering pressure. You'll learn to walk through fire, calm, deliberate, detached, while others scream at the first spark. That's what separates those who crumble from those who command. The mind that terrifies people isn't the one that never suffers. It's the one that suffers in silence. The man who can be betrayed, humiliated, forgotten, and still continue with his purpose intact. That man is dangerous, because he has proven to himself that nothing external has the power to move him internally. That is invincibility. That is mental sovereignty. When pain no longer changes your direction, you've reached the first threshold of real power. So stop running. Stop distracting yourself. Stop hiding from the lessons carved in agony. Pain is your tutor, your training ground, your crucible. And if you can master it, you can master yourself. Every moment of endurance rewires your mind. Every scar becomes a symbol of understanding. Every hardship becomes a weapon. You don't need to suppress pain, you need to use it. Because once you learn to transmute suffering into strength, you'll no longer chase comfort. You'll command it. And when you can command comfort instead of craving it, you'll finally understand what real power feels like. Cold, silent, unbreakable. You've endured pain before. Now, make it obey you. This is the second law of the unshakable mind. Pain is not punishment. Pain is power, disguised as suffering. Control begins where emotion ends. Every empire that collapses, every leader who falls, every man who breaks, it happens for one reason. They lost control of their inner world. Because before the world can conquer you, it must first move you. And once your emotions can be provoked, you are no longer in command. The moment someone can make you angry, they own your energy. The moment someone can make you jealous, they steer your thoughts. The moment someone can make you afraid, they dictate your future. That is not power, that is slavery. The world doesn't need to chain you. It only needs to trigger you. Your emotions are the levers of manipulation, and the weak hand them out freely. They'll say, "I'm just being honest. I'm just expressing myself." But the truth is, they're just broadcasting their weaknesses. Every time you overreact, you send a message. This is how to control me. Every emotional outburst is a surrender in disguise. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He knew that emotion is the enemy of calculation. The one who rules himself rules all others. To master your world, you must first become the sovereign of your own mind. And sovereignty begins with emotional discipline. Discipline doesn't mean suppression, it means command. You don't silence emotion, you study it, interrogate it, and make it serve you. Anger can be fuel if it burns under your control. Sadness can be insight if you observe it, not drown in it. Fear can be a warning if you hear it, not obey it. The weak mind acts on emotion. The strong mind uses emotion. Ask yourself, when was the last time you got angry and it made you stronger? When was the last time you panicked and the outcome improved? When was the last time your emotions solved anything at all? You know the answer. Emotion clouds logic. It blinds you to the strategy unfolding right before you. It turns the rational into the reckless. And that's exactly what manipulators want. Because the one who controls your emotions doesn't need to control anything else. They just pull the right string, press the right nerve, and you self-destruct. So the first step to emotional sovereignty is awareness. When emotion arises, pause. Don't react. Observe. Ask, what is this feeling trying to make me do? Who benefits if I obey it? Because emotions are ancient survival programs, designed for a world that no longer exists. They make you react to shadows as if they were wars. They make you defend pride instead of progress. The strong mind learns to rewrite those codes, to act not from impulse but from purpose. There's a dangerous lie in the modern world, that vulnerability is strength. They'll tell you, open up, be transparent, show your feelings. Machiavelli would smirk. Because transparency is suicide in the game of power. Every emotion you expose becomes a blueprint of your mind. It tells people exactly what drives you, what wounds you, what breaks you. Why would you hand them the map to your weaknesses? The powerful man feels everything but reveals nothing. His emotions are private property. unavailable for public consumption. When the world cannot read you, it cannot use you. That's the first rule of psychological warfare. You must become emotionally sovereign. That means you experience emotion without becoming emotion. You can feel anger, but you don't become anger. You can feel fear, but you don't act from fear. You can feel love, but you don't surrender to it. The moment emotion dictates your behavior, you've abandoned your throne. You are the ruler of your inner kingdom, and that kingdom must obey you, not the world. Emotional sovereignty means this: you are calm when others are chaotic. You are patient when others are panicked. You are strategic when others are desperate. Because your emotions are not steering you. They are instruments in your orchestra. You decide when to use them. You decide when to silence them. That's why people fear the emotionally disciplined, because they can't provoke them. They can't predict them. They can't control them. They throw insults. You don't flinch. They withdraw love. You don't beg. They offer temptation. You don't move. That kind of calm destroys manipulators. They depend on your reactivity. They wither in your indifference. Understand this. The world is a constant performance of emotion. News, politics, social media. It's all designed to make you feel. Fear keeps you obedient. Anger keeps you divided. Desire keeps you distracted. But detachment, cold observation, and emotional control, those make you unpredictable. And unpredictability makes you powerful. A calm mind cannot be conquered. A quiet heart cannot be bribed. And an emotionally sovereign man cannot be owned. When fear comes, observe it. Ask, is this threat real or imagined? You'll realize most fear lives only in your mind. When sadness comes, don't drown in it. Ask, what truth is this emotion revealing? You'll find it's often a signal of growth, not doom. And when anger rises, don't release it blindly. Ask, where should this energy go? Because properly directed anger can move mountains, while uncontrolled anger burns your own kingdom. Emotion is not your master. It's your soldier. And soldiers must obey command. To master emotional sovereignty is to terrify those who live enslaved to reaction. They'll call you cold because they can't shake you. They'll call you detached because they can't manipulate you. They'll call you emotionless because they can't make you feel like them. Good. Let them. Because what they call cold, you call control. And what they call detachment, you call freedom. So the next time emotion rises, don't fight it. Don't obey it. Command it. Your emotions are energy, but you decide their direction. You can use fear to sharpen awareness. You can use anger to drive precision. You can use sadness to deepen understanding. Every emotion has power, but only if you remain the master. The moment you stop being ruled by emotion, you rise above every crowd that still is. And that's why emotional sovereignty isn't softness, it's supremacy. Because the man who commands his emotions commands the world. You don't suppress emotion. You govern it. You don't hide from feeling. You use it. And when the world can no longer read your heart, but can feel your control, that's when they'll fear your mind. This is the third foundation of building a mind so strong it terrifies people. Emotional sovereignty. The art of ruling your inner world like a king who never kneels. Knowledge is power. But power without control is chaos. And control without understanding is nothing but a delusion. You see, most people collect knowledge the way they collect possessions. They hoard facts, quotes, and theories. They want to seem intelligent. They want to sound wise. But Machiavelli understood something far more dangerous. Knowledge is not meant to make you good. It's meant to make you effective. Because the moment you strip knowledge from morality, you enter the realm of pure strategy. And that is where power truly begins. Society wants you to use knowledge to fit in, to be correct, to obey the moral compass they handed you. They'll tell you, use your wisdom to help others. Use your intelligence for good. But who defines what's good? Who decides what's moral? Machiavelli asked that question centuries ago, and the world hated him for it, because he saw through the illusion. Morality is a tool of control. It's a leash disguised as virtue. They teach you to feel guilt for being strategic. They shame you for being calculating. They call you cold when you think clearly under pressure. They call you manipulative when you simply understand people better than they understand themselves. That's how the powerless defend themselves, by condemning the psychology of the powerful. The truth is this: understanding people is dangerous. Because once you understand how emotions, fears, and desires operate, you can predict them. And once you can predict people, you can control them. That's what Machiavelli meant when he said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." He didn't mean cruelty. He meant leverage. To know the human heart is to hold the keys to every door of influence, to understand motivation, greed, pride, lust, fear, is to understand the architecture of power. And most people are too sentimental to see that clearly. They want to believe in goodness. They want to believe everyone means well. But the world is not built on kindness. It's built on interest, on self-preservation, on advantage. Machiavelli's brilliance wasn't his cruelty. It was his accuracy. He didn't tell rulers to be evil. He told them to see reality as it is, not as they wished it to be. You want to be powerful? Stop moralizing everything. Stop asking, is this right? Start asking, does this work? Because morality changes with the crowd. What's wrong today is acceptable tomorrow. But effectiveness is timeless. A lie that achieves stability is often more useful than a truth that causes collapse. A calculated silence can save a life where honesty would destroy it. Power isn't about fairness. It's about function. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then power is not your path. Weaponized knowledge means this: you study human behavior not to judge it, but to use it. You see patterns, not personalities. You read motives, not emotions. You understand what people need to believe, and you feed it to them strategically. Every relationship becomes a chessboard. Every conversation a move. Every silence a calculation. Because when you understand how people think, you can guide them without force. They'll call it persuasion. They'll call it leadership. But you'll know it's control. Control without chains. Power without noise. That's the Machiavellian way. You must learn to study people the way a general studies terrain. What are their weaknesses, their fears, their desires, their illusions of morality? The masses crave comfort more than truth. They prefer hope over reality. They want to be told what feels right, not what is right. The Machiavellian mind gives them exactly that. You don't fight people's illusions, you use them. You don't break their beliefs, you bend them. You don't destroy their comfort, you redirect it. Because manipulation is not evil when used strategically, it's the silent architecture of influence. But here's the warning. Weaponized knowledge is dangerous. It can corrupt the unprepared mind. If you use understanding without discipline, you become a tyrant. That's why you must always pair your strategy with restraint. The Machiavellian mind doesn't abuse power, it channels it. It doesn't dominate to destroy, it guides to control outcomes. Power without morality is chaos. Morality without power is weakness. The balance, the razor's edge, is understanding both and serving neither. Think of knowledge as a blade. The moral man refuses to use it. The fool swings it wildly. But the strategist, he sharpens it quietly, uses it surgically, and cleans it before anyone notices it was used at all. That's how knowledge becomes power. Not through possession, but through precision. You don't need to be smarter than everyone. You just need to know what drives them, and stay one step ahead of that drive, because people rarely act from reason. They act from desire, fear, validation, and habit. Learn those 4 levers, and you can move anyone, anywhere, without ever raising your voice. So how do you weaponize knowledge responsibly? You cultivate 3 things: observation, calculation, detachment. Observation, to see truth beneath illusion. Calculation, to act at the precise moment. Detachment, to avoid being seduced by the emotions of your target. When these 3 merge, you become something terrifying. A mind that sees through everything. You no longer react. You predict. You no longer argue. You direct. You no longer chase. You attract. Because people will feel the quiet weight of your understanding, and they'll obey it instinctively. Most people fear power because they think it requires cruelty. But the truth is more subtle. Power requires clarity, to see things as they are, to accept human nature without judgment, to use knowledge like a blade, clean, cold, and effective. The Machiavellian doesn't hate humanity. He simply understands it too well to trust it blindly. He doesn't destroy systems. He bends them to his will. And he doesn't drown in morality. He rises above it. Because knowledge, when stripped of illusion, is the final weapon. It cuts through deceit, ideology, and emotional manipulation. When you understand the game, truly understand it, you stop playing by their rules. You start writing your own. Weaponized knowledge isn't about evil. It's about efficiency. It's about seeing what others refuse to see and using that sight to shape your destiny. When you master understanding without morality, you become what Machiavelli admired most, a ruler of perception, a tactician of the mind, a man who doesn't need permission to move the world, because those who moralize serve, and those who understand rule. Power is not always about presence. Sometimes it's about absence. Distance, psychological, emotional, even physical, is one of the most underrated weapons of control. Because when you step back, you create space, and in that space, you create value. The world teaches you to chase approval, attention, affection, opportunity. But Machiavelli understood the paradox of power. The more available you are, the less you are valued. The rarer your presence, the more people fight to possess it. Scarcity is not just an economic law, it's a psychological one. Think about it. When something is always within reach, the mind stops appreciating it. People grow numb to what they can always have. They only chase what's slipping away. That's why kings built walls. That's why leaders distance themselves. That's why powerful men remain mysterious. It's not arrogance, it's strategy. Because mystery breeds fascination, and distance creates demand. The Machiavellian understands. Familiarity is the death of respect. You want to be respected? Withdraw. You want to be desired? Disappear. You want to be remembered? Become a ghost. When you're always talking, always explaining, always showing up, you drain your presence. You exhaust your power. And you hand the world your worth for free. But when you retreat, when you go silent, unseen, untouchable, the mind of others begins to turn. Where did he go? What is he planning? Did we lose him? That curiosity, that psychological vacuum, becomes your greatest weapon. Because absence does what presence never could. It multiplies your value in their imagination. Machiavelli wrote, "Men value more what is taken from them than what they possess." He was right. People never realize your importance when you're always available. They realize it when you withdraw your energy, and that withdrawal must be strategic. You don't disappear out of anger. You disappear to amplify. You don't withdraw for revenge. You withdraw for recognition. Because your distance reprograms how they see you. They stop taking you for granted. They start respecting your boundaries. And eventually, they start chasing the silence you left behind. The human mind fears loss more than anything. It fears the unknown. It fears being forgotten. When you become silent, when you vanish without explanation, you awaken that fear in others. They start to project. They start to imagine your thoughts, your plans, your next move. And in that imagination, they create a version of you more powerful than the real one. That's how leaders maintain control. They never let people see all of them. They reveal only fragments, enough to intrigue, never enough to define. The rest is silence. And silence, when controlled, becomes an empire. The power of distance is not about isolation. It's about control of access. Control who reaches you. Control who sees you. Control when and where you appear. The more selective your presence, the stronger your influence becomes. You must learn to treat your time, energy, and attention like sacred currency. Because once people realize your presence is limited, they will start to treat it like gold. You don't chase attention, you condition it. And the way you do that is by learning the art of distance. When you stay too close, you become predictable. And what's predictable becomes powerless. Predictability breeds comfort. Comfort breeds disrespect. Disrespect destroys leverage. Distance restores all three. By controlling distance, you control perception. You decide how they see you, how they speak about you, how they remember you. It's the same principle that makes stars shine brighter in the dark. They're not burning hotter than other lights. They're simply further away. Imagine the moon. It says nothing. It moves slowly, silently. And yet, the tides obey it. That's power through distance. The world moves in rhythm with those who know how to hold back. Because distance doesn't mean disconnection. It means dominance. The more emotionally independent you become, the less anyone can control you. When they can't access your reactions, they lose their grip on your mind. And when they lose that grip, you become unpredictable. That's when power begins. The weak chase closeness because they fear being forgotten. The strong embrace distance because they understand it creates gravity. You must learn to withdraw without disappearing completely. Too much absence and you lose relevance. Too much presence and you lose respect. The balance is subtle. Just enough distance to make them question. Just enough presence to remind them you're still there. That is psychological warfare disguised as composure. When people start expecting you, surprise them by pulling back. When they start assuming they understand you, change direction. When they start believing they have access to you, close the gate. This unpredictability keeps your power alive. Because control is not about domination. It's about managing perception. The wise understand. Power isn't what you say. It's what you withhold. It's the pause before the statement, the space before the move, the silence before the storm. From now on, guard your presence like a weapon. Show up rarely. Speak selectively. Disappear deliberately. Let your distance speak louder than your words. Let your absence raise questions your presence could never answer. Because when you master distance, You control curiosity. When you control curiosity, you control minds. And when you control minds, you control everything. So learn to walk away, not out of weakness, but out of strategy. Because every step you take away creates a silence that commands attention. And that silence is power. Remember, the weak seek attention. The powerful manage it. Presence gets you noticed. Distance gets you obeyed. This is the fifth foundation of building a mind so strong it terrifies people. The power of distance, the art of controlling perception through scarcity and mastering the psychology of absence. There comes a moment when your silence, your control, your detachment crystallize into something else, something terrifying. It's not confidence. It's not arrogance. It's sovereignty. The final form of strength, when your mind no longer reacts, when your emotions obey your command, when nothing external has the power to disturb your inner empire. This is the cold crown, the state of being untouchable, the point where you stop playing their game and start creating your own. The cold crown doesn't come from cruelty. It comes from clarity. It's when you understand the laws that govern men, and you no longer participate in their illusions. They run on validation. They live for applause. They move only when emotions pull the strings. But you move with intention, not reaction. You speak with purpose, not impulse. You love without dependency. You rule without needing to be seen. The cold crown isn't worn on your head. It's built inside your mind. When Machiavelli spoke of power, he wasn't talking about kings or crowns. He was talking about command of self. Because if another person, an insult, a rumor, or a rejection can control your emotions, you are still a servant. The mind that wears the cold crown cannot be insulted because it sees through insult. It cannot be manipulated because it sees the hand behind the gesture. It cannot be broken because it has already accepted pain as part of power. The untouchable man is not the one who feels nothing. It's the one who masters everything he feels. To reach this state, you must first destroy the illusions that bind ordinary minds. The illusion that people owe you understanding, they don't. The illusion that fairness exists in power. It doesn't. The illusion that love should make you weak. It shouldn't. Every illusion you hold is a leash waiting to be pulled. Cut them all, and when the world realizes there's nothing left to pull, they'll call you dangerous. Because a man without illusions cannot be ruled. They'll say you've changed. They'll whisper that you've become cold. They won't understand that coldness is not cruelty. It's precision. It's the removal of noise, the refinement of purpose, the rejection of everything unaligned with your vision. The weak drown in emotion. The powerful ride above it. Because when you stand above emotion, you begin to see patterns. You see how fear controls crowds, how guilt enslaves good men, how hope blinds the desperate. And you begin to understand. To lead, you must never be led by feeling. That is the true essence of Machiavellian control. When you become emotionally sovereign, you are no longer human in the way others define it. You become something else. A mirror that reflects everyone's weakness back at them. They project their fear, their envy, their anger. And because you don't react, they call you heartless. They can't control what doesn't flinch, and so they fear what doesn't bend. The cold crown makes you invisible and terrifying at once, visible only through the unease you create in others. They won't understand why your calm unnerves them, why your silence feels heavier than a scream, why your composure burns them more than aggression ever could. That's because your very existence challenges their illusions. The untouchable man is not loud. He's quiet because noise is for the insecure. He doesn't explain because explanation seeks validation. He doesn't rush because urgency is the weapon of the desperate. He's deliberate, slow, surgical. Every movement is measured, every word weighted, every silence strategic. He doesn't argue. He doesn't defend. He simply decides, because he understands something most never will. Power is not about domination. It's about emotional distance. When you no longer need to prove your strength, you become something far greater than strong. You become inevitable. The world's weapons, guilt, flattery, shame, fear, they shatter against the cold crown. Because the crowned mind doesn't need approval. It doesn't seek mercy. It doesn't beg for peace. It creates peace through control. The one who can remain calm in the face of chaos will always control those who can't. When they shout, you listen. When they accuse, you analyze. When they panic, you remain still. That stillness is not emptiness. It's strategy in its purest form. Because stillness intimidates the frantic, calm terrifies the unstable, and indifference crushes manipulation. That's how the cold crown rules. Silently, elegantly, ruthlessly. You want to horrify them? Stay calm when they expect rage. Smile when they expect weakness. Walk away when they expect explanation. You are no longer reacting to their world. You are creating your own gravity. And that gravity pulls others into orbit. They'll wonder what drives you. They'll try to read you. They'll never succeed. Because they can't read what doesn't need to be understood. They can only respect it or fear it. Either one is victory. Understand this law. A man who depends on nothing is beyond control. A man who fears nothing cannot be broken. A man who expects nothing cannot be disappointed. That is what it means to wear the cold crown, to walk among chaos untouched, to live surrounded by noise yet governed by silence, to love, to lead, to lose, and never crumble. Because nothing external defines you anymore. Not approval, not affection, not pain, not victory. Your mind becomes your kingdom, and your discipline becomes your throne. Machiavelli would tell you, the strongest man is not the conqueror who commands others. It's the thinker who commands himself. So build your fortress within. Let it be silent, cold, impenetrable. When they test you, smile. When they betray you, observe. When they beg you to explain, disappear. You don't chase. You don't prove. You don't kneel. You stand, unshaken, because your law is internal, your power eternal, your silence sacred. You have reached the summit, the place beyond emotion, beyond validation, beyond control. This is the cold crown. This is the mind they fear. This is the Machiavellian ideal, the man who commands reality itself. You are not the villain. You are not the hero. You are the law.